Hey, this is Jack with Vacationese, and we are here with Kelsey, who was married about 3 or 4 months ago. And I want Kelsey to tell us more about her wedding. Kelsey, thanks for stopping by the YouTube channel.
Yeah, of course.
Um, so, if you can tell us when you got married and where you got married to start with.
Yeah, so we got married at the end of May. Our wedding was May 20th through the 25th, I think. Or yeah, it was 4 or 5 days. And we got married at the Grand Moon Palace. So we could go, we had access to all the resorts that were there, but our specific wedding was at the Grand.
Perfect. And so, how many people did you invite to your wedding, and how many actually attended your wedding and events?
Yeah, so we actually invited a lot of people. We invited, gosh, I think it was like 120, and we had about 45 come. But
Okay.
that was kind of as to be expected.
And how did you pick the resort?
Well, honestly, through you. I've been to Mexico before, and I have been to, I think, 3 or 4 resorts there. And I don't think any of them that I had been to offered weddings. So then when we heard about you guys, you ended up giving us a whole long list of resorts explaining what each resort had to offer, what we may want to like specific things that we wanted. And you kind of helped us narrow it down. And that's kind of how we heard about it. And then ultimately picked it.
Great. So, talking about events, so tell us about the events you had, what the theme was, locations, anything you can remember.
Yeah, so we, like I said, it was everyone was required to be there for 4 days minimum. Obviously, people stayed longer, but the first day we had a welcome party, which was from 7 till 10 p.m., and that was on the beach. And we did like a buffet service, and everyone just kind of got there. We said it was like the first night, kind of just seeing everyone and hanging out, explaining what the week was going to look like. The second day, me and my husband did our bachelorette parties. So me and my girlfriends went on a catamaran, which was a lot of fun. And my husband and his friends just kind of hung out at the resort. You know, there's so much to do at the resort. We did not need to leave, but I just wanted to go on a boat. And then the next day, we had rehearsal dinner, which we didn't do a private rehearsal dinner. We just went to a restaurant. I think we went to the Grill, was what the restaurant was called. And it was perfect. I mean, we did not need a private event. You don't end up having to pay for it, which helps. And the service was amazing. So we did the rehearsal dinner. And then the next day was the wedding. And with the wedding, we did the ceremony, a cocktail hour, and then the reception, which were all in 3 different locations. The
So, how
ceremony
did
was,
that work out? How did it
yeah,
work out having, because people always ask me, what do you think about having multiple locations? So, how did that
yeah.
work out for you with logistics and getting between them? Were the locations close to one another?
Right. Yeah. The resort's pretty big, but we picked locations that were close because I just didn't want people like taking golf carts and getting lost. So the wedding was at the Toucan Gazebo. And then the cocktail hour was at the Toucan Terrace, which was literally right next to it. And if you look at a map, it's very clear. And then the reception was at the Caribbean Lounge, which was by one
An
of the,
amazing rooftop,
oh my gosh, like you can see the water. It's the whole bar
private.
was like stunning. Like the whole thing was just amazing, and you could walk. So it was very close.
Good, good. And
Yeah.
everybody enjoyed that? No
Oh,
issues?
oh my
Okay,
gosh. I mean, many people have said it was like their favorite wedding they've ever been to.
great, great.
Yeah.
So, how far in advance did you start planning the wedding? Outside of working with me to find the resort and working with your guests, you were customizing your wedding. So, how far in advance did you work with the people from the Grand Palace Resorts to plan your events?
Right. So once we had the resort and everything finalized, I was assigned a wedding planner. Gosh, I think I was assigned her 6 months before the wedding, but we only really started like locking things down like 3 months before, which is very stressful, but they do it all for you. All you have to do is tell them what you want. I mean, I showed a Pinterest board, she did it all. And like I mean, we just would meet on Zoom. I probably met with her 6 or 7 times on Zoom, and she did it all for me. So yeah, you really start planning 3 months before, but you talk to her about 6 months before. And that may be like give or take a few months, but that's kind of how I remember it.
So had you ever met your planner prior to arriving, or when you got there, what happened? Did she just introduce herself to you?
Yeah, so the first day we had a meeting, and that was where I kind of first met her and gave her some of my stuff that I had brought from home. And then all throughout the week, she was there. She had assistants helping. I mean, everything was like planned to a T. And like even the weather, if anything was like maybe if it was going to rain, she had texted me, let me know the second plans or backup plans. And so, yeah, I met her the very first day, and then she was there with me throughout the whole thing.
So during your events, she was there with you for a minute or two, or you're saying she was there with you morning till night?
She not like physically standing next to me the whole time, but yeah, she was there, and if she wasn't, there was an assistant that was there, so there was always someone monitoring the events, whether it was her or assistant, and then obviously the workers were there as well, so there was always it was very organized. And
So she was not only a wedding designer, she also became your wedding operations
yes,
support
yeah,
coordinator.
telling people when to walk down the aisle, telling people what to do, anyone that had questions would go to her. Literally anything you can think of, she helped with.
And silly question, what did they charge for that?
Nothing. I mean, it was all through the resort. So
So if you tried to do it at home, you'd probably have to spend a couple
it would,
$1,000 to have someone
oh,
like
of
that, I would
course.
guess.
Yeah, definitely. It ends up being cheaper doing it
Yeah.
abroad for sure.
And and was she creative in like working with your Pinterest board, or was it how did that work with you? Do you feel comfortable
Yeah,
with
so
her?
I'm pretty specific, and I like had a specific vibe, so I sent her exactly what I wanted, and I'm also very like type A, so I had like spreadsheets that I had made. You don't have to do that, but I just did, and she took what I wanted and kind of made it her own, but still stuck within my guidelines. So it was like, I want the flowers to look like this. And then she picked the flowers and like executed it and like how it was displayed, if that makes sense.
Great.
So
And what
she,
about entertainment for the wedding? What did you have?
yeah, so we had an MC, which ran the whole ceremony. We had a DJ, and then obviously the dance floor and everything. We had cigars, a cigar bar where they were like rolling them in front of us, which was so awesome. And obviously
And
the
was that an idea you had, or did your fiance, you wanted to do that for him, or the wedding coordinator had an idea and just said, hey, this is something we're doing?
yeah, so they send you catalogs and you can go through, and I had seen it on the catalog, and I was originally going to do it as a surprise for him, but as planning goes, it just kind of he knew about it, but yeah, it was for him and his groomsmen and like the dads and stuff, but everyone had one. Like the moms were having it too, my bridesmaids. It was a hit. Everyone loved
Right.
it.
Do you
Yeah.
remember how much that was?
Gosh, not I want to say it was like $600 or $700. And then we ran out and they charged, or they asked us first. They were like, do you want to add more? And we said yes. And I think we added more for 250, and it was not that many more. So it was a little bit, it was pricey. It was definitely one of those things that I was like, I'm going to cut back on the dance floor so I can have like the cigars. We had to kind of
Well, here's what I would say to you. No one's ever going to remember the dance floor, but I'll bet today if I called five of your guests, they're going to tell me about the cigar roller.
exactly that. You sound like my mother. That's what
I
she was telling me.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time. And, again, it's like, don't spend the money on the ribbons around the chairs because no one's going to remember them. Get the
Right.
fire dancers, get the cigar bar, get the taco cart, whatever that is. People
Exactly.
will remember that 30 years from now when you see them, they'll say, I remember your wedding and I still have that cigar.
Right,
Right.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it definitely was worth it because you do when you're planning, you get caught up in the chairs and the tables and the flowers, and yeah, that's important. But the events, you're right, it's what the guests remember.
Yeah. And it is, again, Jared, my son, spoke to a couple of your guests who just raved about everything, the
Well, that's
resort and the
awesome. Yeah.
wedding and everything. Yeah. So that's awesome when we hear that.
Yeah.
Um, what was your favorite part of the wedding and the wedding ceremony and events for the weekend?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I have a lot of favorites, but I would say the actual ceremony was amazing. It was short, it was sweet, it was beautiful. But the best part was definitely the reception and having the DJ and getting them involved and everyone dancing. So, I mean, I have to say the reception was my favorite thing. The welcome party I loved just because it was on the beach and everyone was so excited because we had just gotten there. And then we went to the nightclub after, which was so much fun. So it was just like the excitement of the beginning of the week.
Right.
And then the reception was the end of the week. So honestly, just like those two
That was
events.
some great information that Kelsey provided us on planning her wedding. So hold on, I'm going to do a second part of this interview and I'm going to release it next week because I think there's even more great information to come.